Welcome back, YouTube. In today's video, I'm going to explain the steps that you need to take whenever you return from your trip. So yeah, here we are. We got back from our trip a couple of days ago, and when we got back, it was cold, wet, and rainy. And all I did was back the truck up to the garage and open the tailgate and pull everything out. And so I don't know what may be wet. I don't know what may be nasty, but I need to inspect all of my gear and repair any damage and get it ready for the next outing. Things that I do know for sure that have to be taken care of. This kayak is got mud in it, and it's got all kinds of leftover from our kayaking trip. That's a big no-no whenever you go to take it to another lake or another river to kayak. With invasive species being a problem, they want that kayak clean before they want you to put it in their lake or in their river. So I'm gonna have to drag the kayak out and air it up and wash it all out and let it air dry and get all the gunk and gook off of it, and then deflate it after it's dried and roll it back up. This is a downside to carrying an inflatable kayak. They're more portable and they're easier to pack up, but they are a bear to clean up and get ready for the next trip. I'm going to show you the things that we carry usually every day in this truck. I usually carry my traction boards every day, and we carry what's inside of this tub. I guess you could call this our trunk. Going over what's in my everyday carry tub in our Colorado. So we've got a first aid kit here. It's got Band-Aids and ointment and stuff. And then we've got a tire plug kit here. We carry a little cheap portable air compressor. We probably need to upgrade that, but that's what we've got right now. And then we carry some jumper cables. These are some light duty jumper cables. We carry a tool roll in the truck, and I carry a four-way tire tool. And I carry a pair of work gloves. Then on top of that, it depends on what you want to do. I carry some extra bungee cords. You never know when you have to tie something down. I carry some cloth towels. Maybe I'll cut it down to a couple of cloth towels. I carry an emergency weather radio. It's got a hand crank on it. This one's pretty old and gooky. That's why the tape is all over the outside. But it's an Eaton radio, and it can be powered by batteries or by hand crank. So I carry one of those for emergencies. If we're gonna go, well, I carry my receiver hitch ball. I don't like to leave it in because, man, that thing will bust your shins. And if I know I'm gonna go off-roading or anything like that, I carry a snatch strap, a come along, because I don't have a winch, so a come along will work. I'll carry my hatchet and a folding shovel. It's an axle strap and a recovery point that I can plug into the receiver hitch in the back. I've got two recovery points in the front of the truck from the factory. I'll also carry a tow strap. This is not a snatch strap. This is just a regular tow strap, and it's got the hooks on the end as well. So some of this I'll carry all the time. Some of this I'll carry just when I know I'm going to go into a slick off-road, or it's going to snow or ice or something like that situation. And there it is, all packed up. I'll usually leave my gloves on top so that I can grab them first, and I keep my hands fairly clean. I forgot to mention I pack a small tarp so that if I got to get under a car or a truck, I don't have to crawl around in the mud and the muck and all that. So maybe it'll keep me a little bit cleaner. This is another one of the tubs that we carry on our trips. It's got the blocks of wood that we use to stack for leveling the trailer, and a 1/2-inch drive socket set that we use to crank the scissor jacks up. These scissor jacks work, but they take up a heck of a lot of space in my truck bed, and I'm contemplating going with bottle jacks to replace the scissor jacks. And as with always, I'm always welcome to constructive criticism and ideas. I don't want you cussing at me or telling me how stupid I am, but the bottle jacks would certainly take up less space, but the bottle jack seals are going to have a lifetime span, and they're going to eventually begin leaking. But for the same amount of money, I'm just thinking bottle jacks might be a better solution than these large oversized screw jacks for this trailer. I don't know, just something to think about. You can also see in this tub that we've got 2 small propane tanks, and we got a citronella candle that we get whenever there's bugs bothering us. The propane tanks are for our oven, and one lasts a really long time. I mean, a really long time. But we always carry 2 because when you're out in the wilderness and you run out of propane, you're not cooking anymore unless you get a wood fire going on. So we are seriously, because of the cost of these little cylinders, thinking of changing over to the larger cylinders that you can exchange at a Walmart or wherever. These cylinders here last a long time. A large cylinder would probably last us a year or 2. So the cost would be a whole bunch less per unit with the larger cylinders. However, the larger cylinders take up more space, so that's just something to consider. If we did the larger cylinders, we would probably have to mount them on the tongue of the trailer, on the outside of the trailer or something, some sort of permanent mount, rather than putting them inside of a tub like this. This is our, I guess you call it our outdoor living room whenever we decide we're in a place long enough to set it up. Sometimes we'll be in one spot for a month. So it's kind of nice to have some outdoor seating area. It's a 10 by 12 mesh tent, I guess. And we'll set it up like a living room. We'll put tarps down on the floor and put our rocking chairs in there and a coffee table, and we'll hang a couple of citronella candles out there, and it's just nice to sit outside, eat supper, not be bugged by the bugs, and just enjoy the afternoon sometimes. So yeah, I unroll the kayak, and of course it's wet, and then I got all kinds of mud from my shoes on it, my kayak shoes. So all that's got to be washed off. The bottom of it is just as nasty from dragging on the bottom. And this tub here, we've got our kayaking supplies. And so these kayak shoes that I wear, swim shoes, they stink to high heaven because they were wet. And it's got the dry bag wet on the outside. The life jackets got to be rinsed off. So we got 2 life jackets. We got our air pump, and then any kind of trash that we pick up, we'll throw in here also. All of this stuff's got to be rinsed off and air dried before we can repack it up for the next trip. And there we go. Everything's all washed up, air drying. I took the inner bladder out of the bottom of the kayak so I could wash out the bottom of it. And then got the shoes washed. We got the jackets behind me washed up, and they're air drying. Everything's air drying. And I'll leave it out for a few days. I have watched the inspectors from other states. In Texas, I've not ever been inspected by a forest ranger or park ranger or anybody, but I've seen it in Colorado, and I've seen it up in Montana, and I've seen it in Wyoming. And dudes, they want that thing clean and dry. And they will they'll put their hands down in the cracks down here below the bladder and feel for any sand or any dirt. They don't want any animal parts, shells. You know, the big problem is zebra mussels, and they don't want any plant parts. There are invasive plants as well. So they are very meticulous whenever they do inspections. And like in Montana, they didn't have any invasive species in the lakes that we went to. But when you went, they had it zoned. So if you went to a different lake in a different zone, you had to have your boat re-inspected in that zone. So you would be tagged for one zone, but you would have to be re-inspected for a different zone. So I showed you what you have to do whenever you have to come back from a trip: unpacking, taking inventory, cleaning your equipment, and getting it ready for your next trip. So if you like what you see, please subscribe, please comment. Constructive comments or suggestions are always welcome. I learn from you, you learn from me. And please like, share, and subscribe the videos and keep this channel going. Thank you a lot. You take care, YouTube. I'll see you on the road.